Hello, welcome to Talking Whisky. My name is Grant, and we're going to be back again for another podcast. Now, today I'm joined by a different guest, and I'm with...
Stephen.
This is Paul. That's staying in, and I don't care. Right, start us off. Let's first start with the kind of what's going to become a new tradition. What are you drinking today?
I've got the English. It's a American oak one.
Oh, you've got the American... Is that not the sherry one that you've got? Oh, you've got the American oak one. Ah. Oh, funny that, because I've got Okatoshin,
The one that's
I've got Okatoshin, and I've got the American oak Okatoshin. So, cheers, sir. Yeah, Okatoshin's all right.
It's all right for a little...
So, do you know, I don't mind it. As if you kind of have it as like a daily drinker, drink responsibly. Okay, don't. But no, as in like one to come to that you're going to sit and enjoy. You're not going to sit and pull it apart and...
No, it's quite a simple one, but it's a good drink.
It is.
It's not like that should not ever be named.
Oh, that should not be named. You mean Fireball?
No, I more meant Red Label.
Oh, Red Label. Oh, okay. So Red Label's come out. I'm going to tell you the story of Red Label. So we went to Texas. Was it 2 years ago now? It was 2 years ago now.
Yeah, because
it
would
was 2 years.
2019? No, 2018.
Yes, it was 2018. Oh, it's even worse.
4 years ago.
4 years ago now. So we went to Austin, Texas, and we went to several distilleries there. And during this time, we got to try... What, 50, at least 50 different whiskies, wasn't it? At least.
Without paying a penny.
For the majority of it, without paying a penny. So we did this fantastic trip. We went away for a few days. We did the Bastard's Ball for Whiskey Tribe as well, and it was brilliant. So on the flight home, right? So we're flying BA home from Austin, and we
Other flights are available.
Other flights are available, and the drinks trolley comes round. Yeah, so the drinks trolley comes round, and it is, what have you got? Well, we've got some brandy, we've got some whiskey, we've got gin, and you go, oh!
Whiskey, we'll have that. We're on a whiskey adventure. Might as well.
So what are the two whiskies? Jack Daniels and Red Label.
I was like, I'm not having Jack Daniels again.
Yeah, but because we've been spoilt for this week of these fantastic whiskies, these rare things we're never going to try again. Oh, Ardbeg 19 was in there. Like, stuff we're never having again. And you're going, I'm not having Jack Daniels. I'm like, well, I'm going to have a Jack and Coke. And you go, nope, not doing it, not doing it.
Well, to be fair, I'd never had Red Label. I thought, when in Rome.
So what did I say about the Red Label? Just don't.
There is a special place in hell reserved for that place.
And what was the verdict?
Yeah, I don't.
No. He took a sip and he was like, and I'm sat there going... I did tell you. I don't know my stuff for nothing. Yeah, I got you good on that one.
There's a special place in hell reserved for that whiskey. I always have an issue with it because I think the blue label and the black label are okay. Like, the blue label's really nice.
Blue label's nice, but it's really overpriced.
Yes, but my worry with it is, and my issue with Red Label has always been, if you can make a whiskey like you can blue label, why release something like Red Label?
Yeah.
It's an entry and it's a low shelf whiskey. But
still not great.
Why would you ever think that's an acceptable thing to do?
Potentially unpopular opinion though, I think black label's better than blue. I prefer the black label to blue.
True. That's a good point.
Also, that might be because of the price point as well. The price point of blue being like
silly,
200 odd quid, depending where you're getting it from, and black is what, 30 at a push.
Yeah, it's
at a push.
Yeah.
On the upper end.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh well.
Same. Do you want me to ask my question to you?
Well, if you're ready to ask.
Are you ready to ask?
So we're gonna so with the podcast, obviously we're gonna, as we go through them. So the first one was Josh. We're doing this one with Paul, and I'm gonna try and do at least a fairly irregular thing. Paul lives away from me, so I'm coming up and visiting. So we're going to try and have something at the beginning, or just do something to kind of kick us off with a question. we did. Josh and I did joke, and we did get it on camera. We should do something where we say, "What's the whiskey news as of today?" And I made a joke of, "Well, there isn't really going to be much. It takes 10 years to make most things.
Oh.
So, what's the news? Don't know yet. Give it another year. Yeah. We'll find out."
So, my question to you.
Oh, okay, I'm ready.
Is we all know that whiskey at its heart is grains and water. Very heart, right?
Yes.
My question for you is, where did it originate from? Not as in... As obviously, you can go through... we'll go through the history up until the original names, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But past that, do you know how far back?
Yeah.
Like,
so
whose idea it was to...
Yeah, this is quite good actually. So there, oh god, I'm going back a bit now in terms of stuff that I've learned, but I don't remember dates and stuff. Okay, so I suppose we should start with if we're going way back.
Well, we'll go for the...
Let's go ancient Greece. Let's go way back.
So you're going to go back.
We'll go way back.
Move forwards.
In terms of wine.
Yes.
So something being fermented, that's the basis of things. I think historians reckon that stuff was first distilled, as in you take a fermented fruit or grain or something and then run it through as still to increase the alcohol. They reckon was 10th century China. They reckon. The first records, or the first believed records of whiskey in terms of a grain spirit, a grain fermented and then run through a still to be distilled, was thought to have been Ireland.
Right.
However, the first documented was found in Scotland, and I think it was I'm gonna get that corrections bar coming up again because I need to double check this. So I think it was a monk, and I think it was something like 1480.
Right.
Was the first
a monk.
Scotland, but so I think it was 1480. I think I'm gonna correction bar was when it was first noted as that. However, it wasn't for another good couple of 100 years until whiskey as we know it, where wood aging kicks in.
Okay.
Because whiskey was, for a long time, effectively just, as we would know, moonshine or new make. So there was no wood aging or anything. You would get it in the still, and then you would just drink
similar to gin.
Yes. Yeah, basically. Similar to gin, but without botanicals.
Yes.
Just the spirit that's coming off the still. So it was a couple of 100 years or so after that. And so it's been made in Scotland, and then it starts getting transported around Scotland, but also, more importantly, down into England. And when it starts getting transported, all they had at the time was barrels. Oak barrels.
Wasn't it something to do with fish or something like that?
Well, there was kind of a half experiment by accident that kind of happened, in that people were transporting it in old barrels that held fish, realised the stuff tastes horrible. And then it was maybe barrels that had held maybe fruit or something. So there's not necessarily an impact from fruit on the wood, but...
You haven't got fish.
Yeah, you spent a couple of weeks bringing it...
Lefroy would have done well with the fish.
Lefroy would have done fantastic. What was it you did? You did something on their Twitter feed, didn't you? What was it? I can't remember. I've got a jar of dirt. And they reposted it, didn't they? Yeah. That was amazing. I'm going to find that now. I've got a jar of dirt. Lefroy. Oh, my dad the other day, he only just saw one of the first adverts for Lefroy. You know, the campaign where they do it's just everybody's reaction no matter whether they like it or hate it, and they just do it. That's the first time he saw it, and he was like, "What a brilliant campaign!" I was like, "Yeah, they've been doing it for years. It's hilarious. Yeah, it's so good."
Well, I mean, they acknowledge the fact that it's like a Marmite, isn't it?
Yeah. You will love it or hate it kind of thing. Oh yeah, definitely. But so it was a happy accident because you're transporting something up and down England, but you're only doing it by horse and cart. So it's going to take a week or so.
So obviously, whilst a week is not going to really impart...
But it will start to change the colour.
Yeah.
And that is the happy accident that was wood aged.
Right.
Literally the happy accident.
Okay, so we've got people transporting it from there. Where does it go from there?
Where does it go from there? Well, it gets to a point where it starts to be taxed and then outlawed by the English.
Was this because of alcoholism?
No,
or was it because...
No, it's because the English love to tax everything and everyone. At that time.
Empire.
Yeah, exactly. Glory days. Depending which way you look at it, glory days or not so glorious days. Yeah, and reasons. So, yeah, and that kind of plummeted the whiskey industry, so to speak. But a lot of it wasn't really done to sell. It was kind of made by just people to have at the time.
Okay.
So it was a good thing and a bad thing for whiskey. So another corrections bar, because I can't remember the dates on this. I think it might have been the 1600s. Stuff started to get put into regulations. And then the English said at one point, look, you have to be official on this. Oh, no, before that, you actually had effectively minuscule distilleries that were making whiskey. And I think at this point they were also aging it. And the English then said...
Probably not that long though, right? Probably you're talking a year, 2 years, rather than
rather
the 30 years that we get now.
Yeah. So it was more of a... so they were doing that, and then I think, corrections bar, the English banned it and said, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. Or you're not doing that anymore. And I think it was one of the distilleries at the time basically said, look, how can we legitimize ourselves? And then became the first legitimate distillery. Can't remember what one, corrections bar. I actually can't remember what one. Yeah, and then came the first legitimate distillery. And at the time, the other distilleries were like, we don't like you because you did that. And then they all slowly started to turn and go, actually, yeah, no, we
Was it a higher or lower percentage, do you know, of ABV?
I don't know, actually. I don't know. So they did the ignition test.
Okay.
So with whiskey, you can do an ignition test with whiskey.
See if it
that's where the term proof comes from.
Proof that it lights.
Yes. Yeah. So 100 proof is 50% ABV.
Yes.
Which is basically the ignition point. So if you say something is above proof, so it'd be 110, 125 or whatever, 50s and 60% ABV. That was the reason the term proof came about, was to test the legitimacy.
So they only coined it as whiskey then when it would ignite, or was it anything was whiskey but these were considered better ones because they were igniting?
A bit of both. Okay.
So you could get effectively a low wine, right? You could get
yes, yeah,
right?
You could. I think what started the ignition test, there was a tax thing involved in the ignition test, because you were taxed either higher or lower depending on the ignition test. But also the ignition test was also then it was kind of at the same time it was used to say, look, am I getting good stuff here?
Right. Because obviously there were cowboys around sort of things selling whiskey that wasn't whiskey.
Yeah, whiskey, but I could proof it right down because I'm going to sell more of it.
Yeah.
Duh. And then, so I think then the ignition test kind of started to come about from that to go, actually, am I getting a good quality product here?
Right.
Oh, that reminds me of one of my favourite whiskey facts, where the term the real McCoy came from.
The real McCoy?
It came
chips?
from... Not chips. It came from whiskey.
Okay.
It came from Prohibition time. So there was... so during time Prohibition in America, you would have the rum runners.
Yes.
And these were the guys that would park offshore, and then the guys in America would row out to it. So they're on international waters. Guys would row out to them, pick up the booze, and come back. Now, what started with that is obviously you're getting an export of rum, but also whiskey's being exported as well to get into America, even though it's Prohibition. But what was happening is people, again, were proofing it down to try and make money to capitalise on this. And I think the guy was called Andrew McCoy, who was a Scottish guy who had emigrated to live in Florida. And he had contacts and would get proper Scotch whiskey, because he was obviously proud of
his heritage.
Scotch whiskey. And then his name became synonymous with getting the genuine article, or
good quality,
the real McCoy.
That's really cool.
I know, right? It's one of my favourite ones.
See, one of my favourite stories about whiskey is the Aberlour one.
Please, far away.
The
I think I know.
The Abunda one.
Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce it. That's the Amamba.
Yeah,
But the Bunda, yeah.
Because of the fact that it was the master distiller came down to find workmen who had broken through and found an old bottle of something that was been bottled like 100 years ago.
Yeah, and then just forgot.
And they were drinking it, and he managed to save half of it.
Oh, I thought
to try and the Abunda is trying to recreate that
one. Yeah, I thought that was an amazing story. But because they were doing. Oh, I want to say an extension, but it wasn't. It was literally extension, and they knocked through a wall. And you're right, and they were like, "Hey, whiskey," not realizing that had been there for like 100 years.
Yeah.
Nobody had it in 100 years. Lawson was like,
yeah, turned into Gollum.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favourite stories.
Have you got the Abunda yet?
Oh yeah, I've got a bottle of it.
Have you?
Yeah.
You haven't given it me. Have you given me that yet?
No. There's a reason for that. Oh. That's why I've still got it.
Oh, yeah, good point. Valid.
Yeah, I've had it for a while, I think.
Have I not had it?
Because I got it when I got the Glendronach. Same time.
Oh yeah, because we did the Glendronach instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah, he's got Glendronach 21 Parliament, so I wanted that.
Surprised we haven't got it, to be honest.
Okay, yeah. See now in the last episode how I said Josh could have anything and he rated my whiskey cabinet? Well, we're not at mine. We're at his, so I rated his.
I'm surprised you didn't get a hold of that.
No, I wanted something...
a little bit easier.
Something a little bit easier to start off with whilst we begin the...
Josh wasn't Egypt.
I know he could have gone for so many things. But the Alcibe is his favourite.
I know, but...
You'd have gone Octomore to start with, wouldn't you?
I'd have probably gone Octomore or the Boutique.
Oh, the Macallan Boutique, yeah.
The Glenlivet 14. Because that is something special.
That's incredible. You got me that for my birthday, didn't you?
Yeah. Steaks were made on that.
Not for me, though. Although saying that, when I came up and you were like, "Who's your birthday present?" I opened it, I was like, "Oh, dude." So it's a signatory cast strength release of Glenlivet 14. So I've got it. I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." I'm like saying thank you to you, thank you to Becky, and you're there going,
"Open it.
You can open it now." I'm like, "Do you want me to open it?"
I was like, if you don't open it, I'm going to open it. You're lucky you got the full bottle.
Yeah. And it was amazing.
It is something. I don't know what they did.
It's a unicorn. It's hands down a unicorn bottle. It is incredible. It's probably one of the most... Just what you would expect from Glenlivet, and it's not that in the slightest.
Oh, it's completely different.
It's a unicorn barrel. Ironically, you can see exactly why they were happy to sell it.
Oh, I mean, Glenlivet...
As in for an independent bottler. They wouldn't be able to blend that for anything.
Signatory got a deal on that. Like,
they got a spanking one. But if you're Glenlivet, you can't blend that with anything. It was so...
But if you could have left it and get it to a 15 and maybe release it at a Glenlivet 15.
But don't forget they're doing a blending profile for 15. And that might have fucked up whatever they're putting in it.
True.
Because it was so just incredibly bizarre, but amazing. Different, yeah. That's a better way of putting it. Yeah, bizarre is maybe a little bit harsh.
Okay, so going back to your...
sorry.
History of...
We get sidetracked.
Yeah, the history of whiskey. At what point... So we've gone through... They distilled it.
Yep.
They started transporting it. They started selling it.
Yep.
Prohibition... not necessarily prohibition in this country,
but
there was
taxes
taxes started to come a thing.
Yes.
To try and reduce it. Try and make money off of it. Because of the realm.
Yes, because of the realm.
At what point then does Scotch start to define themselves and break away and go, okay, for it to be called a Scotch now, it must leave Scotland already bottled?
Do you know what? That's the bit I'm actually the most hazy about. I'm gonna say mid to late 1800s. And the only reason I'm going to say that is because that's when some of the big distilleries truly start opening up and coming around. So I think the Lefroy's 1816, I think Glenlivet's 1814, correction bar. But yeah, but that time is when the big distilleries that we know and love now were opening up and starting. So I think that might have been when stuff started to go, right, okay, we now need to come up with a proper definition of what makes us whiskey.
Right.
Oh, you've actually caught me out. I don't actually know when that was.
Okay.
I would say that, again, there's going to be big flashing bar right here going, he's wrong, he's wrong, he's wrong, he's wrong.
You just need that as your life. Just at every part of your conversation.
Right?
Wrong. Try again.
You do realise that
Go back to school, you pleb.
You do realise I'm editing this and I could just have sarcastic twat written behind your head the whole time.
Oh, I'd expect nothing less.
Okay. That's going up. Yeah, every so often it's just going to be bing.
Light bulb.
Yeah, okay. I'm doing that to you. You do realise.
I look like Jesus. I'm alright with that.
Okay, fine. You win. I'll give you that. So yeah, so then it moves. Yeah, so it moves into that kind of time, and then I think more rules and laws start to kick in about blending and the definition of blending. Although something that upset, it didn't upset the American. I think it upset the American whiskey industry at the time, but it didn't upset the Scots because they were like, "Hey!" Was the invention of the coffee still.
Okay, because
which is the column still.
Column still, yeah.
So Scotland and everywhere were using pot stills, which is obviously big. Not obviously, it's big copper pots. We use a big bulbous bit at the bottom, and then a neck that goes up, goes along, and then it goes into a condensing unit, and then you get your product coming out when it comes up. So it evaporates, goes through the neck, goes through the condenser, condenses, and out comes your spirit. But the problem if you're wanting to produce and release a lot of whiskey, there's a huge amount, not a huge amount, but there's a lot of wastage with.
What is in heat waste or is in
just
cost?
Stuff? No, just stuff you won't get back.
Okay.
Evaporation, waste, and that kind of thing. No, waste is the wrong word. Loss. You lose a lot of the product. So you know when you get your wash.
Yes.
So you've done your wash. So you've already done your fermenting. Only 10% of that, after it's gone through the whole process of distilling or of doing your two still runs. Yeah,
Cuts.
You take your cuts, you barrel it, you bottle it. Only 10% of the volume of wash ends up in a bottle at the end of the process with a pot still.
What was it where we read that something like Jameson lose 1 million bottles a year or something like that?
No, I think it's a day.
Just in angel share.
Just an angel share. I think it's ridiculous. Like it's like that in a day.
It's ridiculous.
Which is mental when you think about it. Yeah, so you've got all that, and then at the end of the pot still, you only get 10%. But with a column still, or a coffee still, because it was I do coffee, so it wasn't made with coffee. The dude was called Coffee.
Right.
So he made these big columns, and they've got copper plates in them. So instead of having a big pot still that you then, it goes through the copper plates, and each section with the copper plate effectively acts as a mini still. So when you're doing pot stills, you need to do 2 runs as a minimum. You do your stripping run, and then you do your spirit run, just to boost up the proof, and then you take your pick. But when you run it through a column still, you don't need to do that.
So it can
because effectively each plate section in a column still is effectively its own mini still. So every time it goes through the still, it'll ramp up the ABV anyway.
Yes.
As it does it.
And then can't you choose at which point you want to cut?
Yeah, that depends on the plates.
Plates, yeah, that's what I was saying.
So if your still's got 7 plates, you can have only 2 of them open.
Yeah.
So it will go through 5 of them, and 2 of them make a section that you want. So yeah, you can do loads of adjustments with that. So when that came out, the Americans were like, we're not sure about this, but the Scots were like, we'll have that. That's amazing. That means we can do more volume. And that's where, yeah. But most blends like Teachers, Grants, Famous Crafts, that kind of thing, most of them are made with column stills.
Because it produces more volume?
Because you can produce more. Absolutely.
Well, Jameson's is a column still, aren't they?
Yes.
I think they're a column still one.
Yes, but their stuff like Redbreast and things, they use pot stills.
Yeah. Yeah. So then obviously we've got. Obviously, you can't tell me the exact date, but the region of when Scotland started to define it.
I'm sorry.
I know. Call yourself a whiskey nerd, Jesus.
More nerdy than you on it. I'll say that
That's not hard.
I'll say that I have ruined you, Josh,
Yes.
and Ryan, and Henry.
Ruined is made me skin. Yeah.
Ruined. Is that not the difference?
Yes.
Yeah. Go on.
So
Sorry, go on.
after we then got Scotland. Obviously, there's a bit in between there where they define the word whiskey, because obviously the word whiskey, its origins.
I think the origin is back in 1400.
Yeah, but obviously it wasn't called.
Oh no, the history. Okay, so the history of the word.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's slightly different.
So the history of the word is brilliant. I love the history of the word. This is where I'm gonna get it wrong now. So it comes from an old Gaelic term, which is which its literal translation was water of life, which was Uskabetha.
Right.
And then it was shortened to Uski, and then eventually became whiskey.
Right.
That's the story of the word. So back in 1400s, when it was made by the monk, or not made by the monk, that's the first record of it,
Right.
of what it was. It was called Uskabetha, which was water of life. And then
Ironically, it doesn't cause much life.
no, it doesn't. Makes you feel alive.
That might be why.
That might be why.
They might be seeing more people. Oh, you're alive. He's a monk, right? He's seeing dead people.
No, just suddenly the commune becomes 100 more people. There's 8 of every one of you. So over time, Uskabetha gets shortened to Uski. And then Uski then develops into whiskey.
Probably because the English couldn't say it.
It's surprisingly difficult to say. It's a short word. It's not the easiest word.
And then obviously, Irish whiskey starts to take off as being their own separate tasting, because obviously we get the butter notes from them more.
Well, they start becoming their own, well, obviously their own region anyway, but their own flavour profile when the English tax starts kicking in.
Oh, okay.
So the English tax starts kicking in, but instead of taxing whiskey, what they were doing was they were taxing malted barley.
Okay, so that's why they then shift away from using malted barley.
So what they would do when they would make their whiskey, when they're running it through the stills, they would use a percentage of that as unmalted barley.
So do you think that's where Lefroy maybe got their different taste and using peat instead of...
No.
Okay, I didn't know if they were going to use that because they'll go, okay, well, we can use less things to try and get the flavour to change, but without the malted barley.
No, so smoking the barley was a way to stop the malting process.
Okay, so it's a way to kill off the fermentation.
Yeah. When you malt barley, you're effectively tricking it to germinate.
Yeah, the sugars.
So to smoke it, you're cutting that process.
Okay.
Now, the reason it was peat was because...
That was what they had available.
That was what they had available. And in general, they would do that. They would cut out the big sections of peat bog, dry it, and use that as fire... I say firewood, but they would use that for fires anyway.
Right.
And because they happened to use that for fires anyway, and they discovered if you smoke barley whilst it's malting, you can cut the malting process.
Right. And it also changes massively.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's
massively
weird,
changes.
but it's weird, right, that it changes the flavour, because we think of it as the wood makes such a big difference.
Oh, it does.
But...
in terms of the smoke, yes.
Yeah, the smoking process makes even bigger difference, because you can't even think something like the Ugadal.
Yeah.
Whilst that's been put in a sherry cask,
you've still got this huge punch of the smoke.
Because you can never get rid of that. Once you smoked it in that, it'd be very hard. Ironically, though, the Ardbeg 19, that you lose a lot of the smoke in that, and that becomes pineapple.
But that's because of age.
Yes.
But that's because of the wood. So
yes, that's what I'm saying. You lose the smoke that you would get from the peat.
Yes, but that's what happens with the whatever happens with the chemistry inside a barrel with smoke. They're called phenol notes. or phenolics. Phenols.
Give the dyslexic the big word.
I know, right? So they're phenols, and that's what gives that smoky flavour. But after time in a barrel, those phenols change and they start to become more tropical flavours, which is ironically, if you have a very old age statement peated whiskey, it doesn't tend to. You would like your initial thought would be it's going to be really peaty. It's going to really. It doesn't. It tends to drop that peatiness.
Oh yeah,
because that's what's happening. Whatever's happening, I don't know what the chemistry is, but the chemistry in the barrel, that's what's happening over time.
But the interesting part is it clearly takes. Obviously, they could have released it at 18 years, and it might have also gone,
like
but
19
years at
point,
least.
Yeah, it's about that point, and about 20 years. That point is when it starts to kick in.
Yeah.
But here's the funky thing on the whole peated side is for years before more modern technologies could reduce the temperature of a room artificially, effectively. For years, all whiskey was peated.
Oh really?
Because that was the only way to stop the malting process. All Scotch whiskey for years was peated because that was the only way to stop it until they figured out actually there's another way we can stop this process without having to smoke it. Exactly. So for years, all whiskey was peated.
Oh, that's
a funky one, right?
It'll be interesting because obviously I don't know how old like something like Glendronach is.
What, is a distillery?
Yes.
Go grab the Parliament. I mean, it will say it on the bottle. Okay, don't grab the Parliament.
I don't want you getting your mitts on it.
Valid. Yeah, because if you bring it out, I'll insist we get a pour of it.
No, I'll go get it. I will get it.
You don't have to, it's fine.
It's more, I'm mooch enough off you. But the...
Okay, hang on, before you continue, do you want to do the story of Christmas at mine?
What, when you just gave me too much time?
Well, no. So you started off by what started the whole the green label, red label thing.
So that was, I read a post of something that they were talking about green labels and red labels.
Yeah.
Green being that it was open to anybody, yellow was just ask me first, and red was you do not touch. Which we both said that whilst whiskey's always made for drinking, we understand that there are some things that you just don't want any person just to come in and feel accepted that they could just drink it.
Well, hang on, the background of this, because the guy was talking about it with wine, wasn't he?
Yes, it was a.
And sorry to jump into your story. But the background of it is that he did this post to say, if you come in my house and if you ever go into the wine cellar or if you look at the alcohol cabinet, that there is a tag, there's a label system. So the green meant, as you said, pick it. Doesn't matter. Help yourself. Yellow was, come ask me if that's okay, and red was, I'm never speaking to you again.
Yes, and we both said
that was the joke of the red, but the red was don't touch it.
Yeah, and we both said that, like I said, whilst we agreed that whiskey should be there to be drunk, it shouldn't be there to stand on ceremony sort of thing.
Yeah,
there are times where people maybe aren't gonna understand it, the nuances behind it, and things like that. So we understood that actually it's okay. And we both understand that there's obviously a lot of controversy as, okay, well, why put it out if you're not willing for people to drink it?
Yes.
The flip side to that is you may not have enough space to put it anywhere else, and you may want that bottle. If you shouldn't have to therefore hide it just because.
But also the other side of it is it's your house.
Yes.
So why would you put that away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously we've got a pretty open thing that everything is green.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but when you and I were talking about it, we were saying that our definition of red would be, yes, you never touch it. So we were talking about it of what whiskies from our collections.
Yes.
Collections is maybe the best word. What whiskies from ours would we say would be a red label? We had a list of them. But then we were saying it's not like we would never let anyone drink it. It would be, if it was going to be drunk, if people were over, we're getting it ourselves.
Yes.
To bring it out.
Yes.
It's not you go and help yourself. Like let's say a yellow label of mine would be, say, the Glendronach 15.
Yes.
For example.
The yellow label probably for me would probably be the Obunda.
Yes.
Or something like the Ugdal, right?
Yes.
Because they're not.
Oh, the Ugdal's maybe a great one, actually.
Because they're not impossible to get hold of.
They're maybe a little bit more expensive.
But you can get hold of them.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was so if I was not that you and I do it to one another, but if you had someone over and you were like, oh, go have a look at whiskey, there is a tag system, and someone came back and said, the yellow's on the Ugadal, I love Ugadal, can I try it?
Yes, and then it'll probably be fine. I'm not against
it. But we were saying our reds would be, you don't touch it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop having people over or whatever.
And giving them a pour.
And you going, right, I'm going to go get one of my red tags and I'm going to bring this out. You guys have been enjoying what we've got already.
Yeah, and
try this one.
Basically just to stop someone who would just drink Jack and Coke. That grabbing something like the Jack.
You say that. What was?
No, so I was going to go on to that.
Okay.
I was going to go on to that. So obviously I've got a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Which you would probably put as a
red. On a red because it is
outstanding.
It's the single barrel one.
That was incredible.
It is again.
Incredible.
It's the same thing with Johnny Walker. Is I can't believe Jack Daniels number 7 compared to the Jack Daniels single barrel. They can make something that's brilliant.
It's incredible. But here was the thing: when we did it, we had it in a whiskey tasting,
and we didn't know it was Jack.
And we didn't know it was Jack Daniels. We were told it was a bourbon, and Daniel deliberately didn't tell us what it was until everyone had taken a sip, and it was like, "That's Jack Daniels single barrel," and we were like, "What?
It's so good.
That's amazing."
But that would probably be on my red.
Also,
but not
really,
because...
Or it used to be really... I think a couple of the websites have got it back now, but it used to be really hard to get here.
Yeah, so it was really hard to get, but also it's massively high proof. So anybody that just would normally come in and put Jack and Coke in, I wouldn't like them to just go and see, Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Let's just put this in Coke, because they're not going to appreciate how good of a whiskey that is.
And even putting it in Coke, you'll still end up being about 45.
Yeah.
It'll still be ridiculously high.
You'd be walking sideways for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, true.
So there are stuff that obviously we put on red lists, but it's not to say that you could never have it. It's just for me to drink. It's for to be shared around with friends.
But it would be under.
But it's to be
my choice or your choice.
Yeah, or to be around people that will appreciate the nuances of that thing. So reds don't really apply to sort of like yourself, Josh, Ryan. Those I would share it happily with those and say, look, they're available, you can try them. Yeah, so I would let Josh and yourself and obviously Ryan try it, but it'll be a case of maybe even with those two, I'll be like, look, just come up and ask, then it'll be fine. I'm not going to say no, obviously, because Josh likes his bourbons quite a lot, except
he doesn't struggle with the proof. He's getting better with higher proof stuff, but that Jack would kick his backside.
He'd love it.
Actually, I think he would. Yeah, he would love it, but he would.
It'd be like trying to shove him a spoonful of cinnamon in his mouth. He'd be coughing for about an hour afterwards.
I see no issue.
But he'd love it. I think he would really. I think he would actually really enjoy it. And I think that
if you're watching, next time you're up at his,
you're not having it.
Fair.
No, yeah, obviously. And obviously, I think Ryan would like it as well. I mean, I know Ryan likes his Scotch more than...
Ryan's good with proof.
Yeah, but Ryan likes Scotch, right? More than bourbons.
Well, actually, no, he likes a bourbon.
Oh, good.
He's a good fan of a good bourbon. One of his favourites is Maker's 46.
Oh, the one you've got or the cask one?
No, the one I've got. He adores Maker's 46.
Yeah.
He buys it quite regularly. And Brimstone.
But something like Maker's Mark, that would be a great easy.
Hands down.
Because it's easy to get hold of. Anybody can...
Even Maker's 46 would be a green.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, the Eleanors, they're in reds just because of their
reds, because we can't get
you can't get hold of them anymore. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Not because obviously they're brilliant whiskies, but obviously if you had 14 bottles of it, they'd probably be a yellow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We've only got a handful each.
Yeah.
If that.
I mean, you've got more than I have. I've got 2.
I've got 4.
Yeah. And about 14 waiting.
I know. I've got a lot waiting for me. It's going to be an awkward flight home.
Yeah.
But you came over at Christmas and I don't have any label system with you. Everything is game for you.
Yeah. So I spent about 45 minutes going, I don't know.
Yeah, you were pulling everything out going, right, I've narrowed it down. How many you want?
4.
5. You want 4. Okay, narrow it down to 3 and we'll run from that.
I was like, I can't.
Yeah. But what did you go with in the end?
Black art.
Black art. Yeah.
Straight away, black art. It was my heart straight away. I saw it and I was like, that's sherry bottle.
Doing the black art. Oh, the black art is beautiful.
It's just so well done. And I can get why it's that amount of money.
And it's the 6.1 as well.
Yeah.
Which is...
so good. But I could totally see them charging that amount.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like I bought it and you got it and I was like...
So I've seen on chat groups and stuff that the 4.1 is hailed as the best black art. I've never had the 4.1. The 6.1 is maybe a second. The 7 was still amazing, but wasn't as good as the 6. The 8's meant to be pretty good.
Okay.
I think they're on the 9.1 now.
Oh, really?
I think they are, yeah. But I haven't tried that one. I've tried the 8. I've not tried the 7. I've got the 6.
That was a good find.
Oh, that was a fantastic find. Considering that was probably one of the only places in the UK that still had it.
Yes. Well,
As in for sale.
It seemed like he didn't even realise.
That was his last bottle as well.
Yeah, but it seemed like he...
No, he did. Because you had left the shop, and when he gave it to me, he was like, look after it. It's like, oh, I will.
Yeah.
Oh, I will.
Okay, so here's one for you. Is there a bottle that if you ever got hold of, you wouldn't open?
No.
Okay, because obviously I've spoken to you about the fact that I've got 2 bottles that I will never open. But
yeah, but you've got them for sentimental reasons.
That's what I'm saying. If you ever got, I don't know, your father got a bottle that you would never open,
I'd open everything. I've got bottles that aren't open, that I won't open for a reason, but they will be opened.
Okay.
So I've got 2 Longmorn 16s,
yes,
as in the old style. But the only reason I got the second one is because I felt guilty about drinking the first. So I bought, as you do, you buy a second. So when you finish the first, you know you've got another one to go to. So that's unopened, and the Longmorn 18 as well. That I've got a second one of that's unopened. But the other reason they're unopened is so I know I'm not gonna. Well, actually, the 18 I can get again. The reason I got 2 is I didn't think I could get it again because I thought they would sell out pretty quick, but they have still got them. But the only reason being that when it's gone forever. So I wanted a second bottle. So I'm obviously not going to open a second bottle whilst I've got one open.
Yes. But is there, if you ever got hold of a bottle, would there be nothing that you wouldn't open?
No, nothing. I got close with the boutique.
Okay.
The Macallan boutique that I bought, I got close. Because you can only get them... So Macallan release a boutique whiskey every year. And they've done it for... Not every year, but they've done it for a few years. And they'll do one every year. And there's only 3 boutiques. There's one at Gatwick, there's one in Dubai, and one in Singapore. All in the airports. And when I picked up the one I picked up, Dubai had sold out. Singapore was closed, so they never went to Singapore. And they only had it in Gatwick. So I'm like, all right, I'll pick up a bottle. And the resale value of it was triple the amount.
Okay, say you managed to get hold of a bottle that there was only ever one made.
Now I drink it.
Okay, would you just pop it or would you wait for an occasion?
Well, I would wait for an occasion. Because what I did with the Macallan is that I got to a point I thought, I could resell this and make a bomb. And then I was like...
Well, you could. You actually genuinely could.
I could have. But then I got to a point where I thought...
Same with the Longmorn, right? The Longmorn 16, when you bought it for like 100 and odd, by the time, it was like worth like 200 by the time you bought the second one.
Yeah. I can still probably sell it for more again. But I'm not going to.
Oh, I don't. Yeah.
I got close with Macallan because I thought I could resell that and buy 2 other amazing bottles. And then I was like, no, I've bought it.
To drink.
So I'm going to drink it.
And I totally get that. And obviously
But that was the bottle. So when I moved into my place, that was the bottle that was going to be if I could get everyone. Yeah, and then down. Obviously, not. We're all kind of spread out, so I couldn't pin it. The weekend I was going to do it, I couldn't get everyone down. But but what I was going to do was say, right, everyone come down. If we can get everyone there, we will open the Macallan boutique and we'll finish it in the night. But the reason being is, to me, it was what's a better story?
Oh, yeah, I totally get that, and I totally get the reasonings behind.
So if you've got like a 50-year-old whiskey, what's a better story to say, I have a bottle, or I had a bottle, we opened it for a special occasion or whatever, or like, let's say you get engaged or whatever, and we do it as your engagement present. Sorry. But I'm trying to think of something. So I'm trying to think of something like that, and we get it for the occasion. What's a better story to say, yeah, I've got it, we tried it, it was lovely, or we did it as an occasion, we finished it in one night and it was amazing.
Well, yeah, I
to
totally
me,
get
that's
that.
a better story.
Okay, change slight deviation then. Would you ever buy a bottle with the deliberate idea of selling it to buy another bottle?
Again,
So for instance, say you go, Longmorn have got a 35-year-old whiskey that they found,
yeah,
right? And you're like, oh my God, I want that.
yeah.
And you go, well, I'm going to buy such and such
To resell.
so that I could go get the one I actually want.
No, I don't.
You
think
still
I
wouldn't do
would.
that, because I know someone
would.
that's bought a whiskey 30 years ago, and it's now worth a bloody fortune.
I bet, yeah.
It's worth something like 120 grand.
Oh,
Right, and he's got two of them.
Oh,
when
amazing.
his dad bought them for him as a turning 21 gift.
oh wow! But 30 years ago,
Yeah.
I think Macallan's.
Huh?
I think Macallan's.
No, there's some weird.
They're not. Oh wow.
There's
okay.
some weird one. I'll find it for you. And he will never sell them, but his dad bought them for him as a gift, as an investment. But say you had been given a bottle like that, would you ever just wait and go, you know what? Or would you open it straight away? Or would you maybe open one, keep the other one?
Oh, if I've got two of them, I'd open one and keep the other. I'd open one. Then, if it's crap,
Then you know you.
then I know I'd have a reason that I could resell it.
Okay.
That would be the only.
So you're not
case-
against reselling?
If
It's
you,
just.
oh no. If you've got a duplicate, then I'm not against it. If it's the only one you buy, then against it's the wrong word, but I wouldn't. For me personally, I wouldn't do it. It's been made to be drunk, so I'm gonna drink
Oh
it.
yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm not in the whole whiskey selling, like second-hand market sort of thing.
So, just saying that, I've got a ping back for you on this subject. So, in the last episode, Josh and I were talking about what would you rather, a 30-year-old whiskey for the year you're 30, or a whiskey bottled in the year. I think between you and I, we said if it's actually bottled on our birthday, we're going in for if it's bottled on our birthday, no matter the age statement.
Yep.
So, let's say we go for a 30. So you get a 30-year-old whiskey. Okay. We both get 30-year-old whiskies. Here's a one for you. Would you want to do the story thing with it? Would you want to open it and finish it in one day?
I don't know.
As the celebration, or would you want to open it and drink it through your year of being 30?
I don't know if I would do something like open it with amongst friends and use it for special occasions,
Of course.
but try and take only a drink every year of my birthday and hopefully finish it by the time I'm 40 and get a 14-year-old whiskey.
Good luck getting a 40-year-old one.
Or
But
a
yeah,
bottle.
okay, yeah.
Do you see? Or a bottle that's bottled on my birthday for my 40th.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I like that. I like that. idea.
So only drink it at occasions of birthdays, maybe Christmases, those sorts of things.
I like that. That's a good way of doing it.
But have it try and last. Obviously, I know that bottles, once they're open, 10 years is a very long time to try and keep a bottle alive.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to shrink wrap it every time you...
Yeah. And you'd have to keep it in a cool, dark place.
Yeah, so you'd have it once
Out
and
of
shrink
direct
wrap
sun.
it to make sure it doesn't get back out again. That would change a lot, though. But yeah, I see your point. Or move it to smaller bottles and shrink
Yeah.
wrap it. Okay.
But maybe that. Because I don't think I'd like to drink one in one night, because I don't think I'd like to finish it in a night, mainly because, unless you've got like 25 people there, and then it's one pour each.
If it's two of you.
Right,
Yeah.
it's more the fact that the more times you go back to it, you're not going to get the same. You become acclimatized to that flavour.
Yeah,
so
okay,
you don't get that wow. Whereas if you can come back to it time and time again, you're like, I remember how good this
Then
was.
it's a wow. Yeah, okay. I get your point.
Which is why I don't really finish bottles very often.
No, you
because
don't. You're weird like that. Or they're saying that I'm weird. I've still got some bottles that I probably should finish. I just haven't.
Yeah, because I like the idea of coming back to
it.
them, so that you
Yeah.
can get that. If you drink it time and time again, you end up just finishing it, but you don't get that whole.
Yeah.
This is completely different, because you just get accustomed to
Yeah.
that flavour.
So for me, I think for me in that scenario, it would depend on it.
Right.
So as I mentioned in the last episode, I found a Longmorn, a single malt whiskey society 30-year-old Longmorn. If it was that, I would drink it through the year of my 30th. and I would make sure I finish it, or it would be it would either I would make sure it's finished the night before my 31st, or it would be finished before then. So I would drink it if it was the Longmorn one. I would drink it through the year.
Okay.
Let's say it's maybe Glenfarclas 30, because there's no restriction on what it is. Let's say it's a Glenfarclas 30 or something like that. Not that Glenfarclas is bad, because it's not. Glenfarclas is brilliant, but just their higher age statements are more price accessible.
That's a good way of saying it.
If it's that, for example, where you're not spending hundreds and hundreds on a bottle of 30-year-old whiskey, I would say, right, day of my birthday, a few people over. If it's that one, I'm doing it for the story. We're finishing it tonight.
Yeah.
If it's five of us or something, we're finishing this tonight.
The 5 of you, that's about 5 pours each.
Yeah, about 5 pours each.
That's not...
To me, that's
okay. Well, you'd have to mix it in with other things.
Fine.
Not as in mix it, but as in...
I would say do it.
Yeah.
I would say...
Just so you get the difference.
One pour, second pour, third pour... If we're being adventurous, if we're being bold, if you want to do it for the story, your third pour, do it with lemonade, or do it with ginger ale, or do it with Coke. Yes, sacrilege, but why not? Again, for me, I'm not, again, maybe I feel harsh that it maybe coming across snobby depending on what distillery it is. It's more of a price accessory point.
Yes, if you can find a 30-year-old
whiskey that's
for 199 quid, you're going to get that.
Exactly, then that would be one I'd be more comfortable doing.
Glenfarclas is brilliant because you can get 25 for 110 quid.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
And a 25-year-old whiskey at that age statement is unheard of.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So, the 21 was 200 odd for the Parliament?
No, it's about 120, 130, depending where...
Okay.
Yeah. It's not as bad.
But that's what I mean. That's 21. That's 4 years less.
But a 25 is a big number.
Yeah. I think I found a Glendronach 30 on Master and Malt for about 600 quid.
No.
Which I don't think is actually that bad. 600, 700.
That's not... Well, for a 30-year-old whiskey, no, that's not bad. Usually when I see some of the big labels... with that age statement, it's in the thousands.
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be about 1,500.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought that would be.
Yeah, but it was only, I say only 700, it's still a lot of money.
It's still a huge amount of money, but it's all comparative. It's all comparative. And for that age statement, that comparatively isn't too bad.
Aye.
Still a lot of money. In the grand scheme of life, it's a ridiculous sum of money, but given 30-year-old whiskey, it's not that bad.
But if you get... The thing I never get is the 50-year-old whiskies. Right? You see them occasionally. But what must come out of those casks must be dust. or syrup.
But that's the funny thing. The ones that are that old, do you know why they get that old?
It's just because they've been left.
Because they've been left because they've been forgotten about.
or sometimes they go, they're not ready yet. Or this one's doing something funky that I don't like. Let's try and wait.
And you just leave it year and year and
year.
Yeah,
but some of them might just be forgotten about and left at the back of a rickhouse.
Which has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has happened. It's happened.
You can only really do 50-year-old whiskies in this climate. I don't think you could get a 50-year-old whiskey in America.
Well, no, it wouldn't exist.
Yeah, because the heat.
Maybe in Alaska you might be alright.
Are there any Alaskan whiskies?
I don't know.
Canada you might be able to do it.
Canadian whiskey maybe. Yeah,
you might be able to
that climate. Yes.
Yeah, because of the cold as well. But
maybe Japan as well, actually.
Obviously, but they still get massively hot summers.
True. Well,
they do get they get massive extremes. We don't really get the massive extremes.
Yeah, we don't, because we've got isn't it the jet stream that makes us cooler?
Yeah, we just say rain all the time.
Well, yeah, there's that as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't developed wet feet.
Have you been to Norfolk?
Yeah.
Sorry, anyone from Norfolk. Sorry. They've got gills. All right, you took a step further. I didn't. Okay, that's a bit harsh. All right, so we have a problem now.
What? Both of us got no whiskey?
Oh, we've got 2 empty glasses.
Yeah.
So do you know what happens when we've got empty glasses?
We fill them up.
Exactly. So when we fill them up, that means we go to this week's drum roll, please.
If you don't insert a drum roll,
no, I'm not gonna.
And you don't put a monkey doing it, that one. I'm gonna haunt your ass when I die, I tell you.
Guess whiskey, sir. Would you like to introduce the guess whiskey? Because it's your bottle to introduce.
I say it's my bottle. It's not really my bottle, is it?
It's our bottle, but there's a story, but you'll tell the story.
So
This
it's
is the one you hold.
Real Spirits.
What are you showing it to me for? Show it to the camera.
What?
You're showing it to me like you guys can see my eyes.
So it's a... the Real Spirits distillery. It's their single barrel. I just call it the signature one. I don't think it is a signature. I think it's technically called the 71.
No, it's barrel 71.
Barrel 71, that was correct. But I call it the signature, mainly because when we went, we got the bottle signed
By
the distillers themselves.
Yes.
so that's why I call it the signature. And I just think it's a brilliantly good whiskey.
Yeah, but also, why is it brilliantly good to us?
So obviously we've got this story of.
I mean, we'll go into the story, but you're still missing the point of the guest whiskey at the moment. You're not pouring it.
Well, I bought it.
Okay, fine. Hey, are we not doing clean glassware?
I can do clean glassware.
We'll do clean glassware. Okay, we're being that snobby, guys. Dispose of this. Thank you. You've got a little bit of something on it. No, we're good.
It's from the container.
Okay. So, are you happy for me pouring this?
Yeah.
Do you want a wee pour or a big pour? Wee pour.
Medium.
Medium. So when?
When?
Okay.
You were going to stop anyway, weren't
I
you?
was. I was getting worried for you and you.
That's
There we go.
You've got...
No, I haven't. Have I?
You son of a bitch.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. No. 'Cause it was...
There you go. Happy now?
Not particularly.
Not particularly.
It's not a tumbler.
It's not a tumbler. Good point. Well, so, before we do the story, cheers.
Cheers. Campai.
Oh. Takes me back to it. Every time I smell it, it takes me back to it. Yeah.
So obviously for me, it's got those memories of being there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying it's the best whiskey in the world, but for me, it is one of the best because of that story.
Yes.
And that those memories.
Take us away with the story, sir.
Well, so obviously, when we went out to Austin, we took a trip down to Real Spirits. We had a tour. I think we started with a tour. Did we start with the tour or did we?
No, so we went. No, we went. So we went up. So Real Spirits is
Owned
part
by
of Real
Real
Ale,
Ale.
which certainly in the Austin area is a massive brewery, like huge.
Yeah, so we saw the brewery and that was...
Yeah, so Real Spirits was this tiny room distillery, literally.
Well, the fact that it had a pipe that they had nicked.
Yeah, they literally nicked the wash.
They nicked the
straight
wash,
out of a pipe.
put it in the pipe, and then that goes into
And they
a
shut
vat.
it off once and they didn't realise the distillery was in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Davin, who is the distiller, showed us around.
Showed us around. Obviously took us around the brewery, and you realise how big it is. The vats, where they're doing all the wash and things like that. And then took us into the tiny little garage where I thought that was where you take people and they don't come out.
And a garage is probably the best way to describe it. It was really small.
Yeah, I mean, I had enough for a pot still, tiny vat,
and a table. That was literally it.
Yeah.
But it was brilliant.
Oh,
I
totally
thought that made it so much more amazing.
Yeah, and this is why for me this whiskey is one of the best ones ever.
Yeah.
Because of that story that comes with it. The fact that when we were there, they were doing a spirit run, weren't they? They just started a spirit run because
and it was the heart cut.
Yes, so we got to try it straight off the still.
Oh.
New make, which I mean,
And it was
new make never comes off that smooth.
And it was coming off at 70%.
So they proved this down to 46.
Is it 46?
It's a 46.
No, I thought it was higher than that. Oh, it is. Oh my god. Wow, I didn't realise that.
Yeah, so it comes off. So they obviously would prove they were taking heart cuts at 70.
Yeah. So their heart cut was at 70. That was.
It was so nice.
It was beautiful. It didn't.
so flavourful and not even musty.
No burn would sound hard, would be a lie. If you weren't used to anything above 40, that would be a lie. But it wasn't the kind of burn you would ever expect from something that high proof.
I mean, it wasn't like vodka or anything like that.
No. But what makes this bottle even more incredible is, so their base whiskey that they use, they'll blend the washes from 2 different grains.
Yes.
So I can't remember what grain they were using when they did this one. It wasn't the stout one. It was the other one. I want to say Golden Promise. No,
yes.
no, it's not. Balcones used Golden Promise. Okay, so whatever it is, it's one that you would find in whiskey more commonly anyway. And then they use another one that they then run through the stills. Oh, I don't know. Have a look. And then they use another one that they run off the stills, which is a kind of a stout one, and they'll barrel them separately and age them separately. And then when they do their regular whiskey, they'll blend the 2 together. This is a single barrel that they've done. Of the grain strain we got to try off the new make. Now, what makes this incredible for me is when we had the new make, it was full of flavour, it was incredible, but the note that stuck with me the most was toffee apple.
Oh yeah, and it's still,
and you get it in this. It's still there. Obviously, there's way more like caramels, and the wood effect has had a much bigger effect on it now. But that note that we got on the new make, straight off the still, is still in this, which is amazing to me. And I think that's why I'm with you, that this is one of my favourites because of that whole experience that went with it.
Yeah, so...
And he spent hours with us.
Oh, man was a ledge.
Yeah, Davin was amazing. He spent absolutely hours with us. At least 4 hours. We got there at 12. I think we left about 4 or 5.
Yeah, on our hands and knees, yeah.
Hi. That was good. Oh, and then they did the...
Because they did the stout finishes and things like that. They did the...
No, they did a reverse.
Yeah, they did
the brewery did a stout finished in one of their whiskey casks.
Yeah.
That was pretty good, actually.
Lovely.
I'm not usually a massive fan of stouts either, and that was really nice.
It tastes like...
Didn't they carbonate it?
Oh, no, because that would have been a lager then, wouldn't it?
No, you can carbonate a stout. Or was it not carbonated?
Don't think so, because it was very similar to Guinness.
Oh, okay, it was.
It was very similar to Guinness, but...
I don't remember it being as heavy as Guinness.
Oh, no, but it was lighter than Guinness, but it was very dark still.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. It's
and it had the... It's like, basically like Guinness and had a sleepover.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
In a whiskey cask.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Beautiful.
I was thinking, what's going on here? Where's he going with this? Okay, good choice. Very good choice. I'm not going to lie, this is a great choice.
Well, I mean, there was plenty to pick from, but we just thought...
No, you did. This wasn't my choice.
Yeah,
this was yours.
But I thought that we would enjoy it because of the story.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, 100%.
And I don't care if anyone turns around and says this is a rubbish whiskey. For me, it's just got such
good luck for however many people have ever been able to have it. This is bottle number 60. Yeah. I think they only got like 100.
Bottle 60 out of 71, yeah.
No.
Out of barrel 71.
Barrel 71, and it was bottle number 60. And I think I remember them saying there was only maybe a couple of hundred at most.
Yeah.
If not less. Actually, if anyone has had this, please leave a comment and let us know what you think. We might... Okay. I think it's a really good whiskey anyway, but we could... Jaded is maybe the wrong word. We might have slightly rose. That's
why I was saying anyone could say that they could think it's horrible whiskey.
Because we've got a massive experience with it as well.
Yeah. It's the same with Balcones. Someone could turn around and say Balcones is vile. I don't care. I'd fight them for it.
I adore Balcones.
Yeah, because I just think that the story we've got with it, with the... It's
so good. So for me, I get all these beautiful kind of rich caramelly notes. That wood is... There is that feeling of the wood, but to me, the dominant is still toffee apple.
Yeah, so I get toffee apple on it, but I also get like the... Almost like Christmas cake dark, but also then the sweet icing. On the taste, I get it.
Yeah,
if you hold it.
I get something else that you might pull a face at me for. And I
get the toffee massive.
Okay, this might sound a horrible note, but I promise you it's not. I get almost like a plastic feel.
Say that again. I dare you to say plastic out of that.
It's not
Much
a negative.
experience of eating plastic, have we?
Yes. I was a bored child.
Yeah.
Eating pens.
Lego. You know.
Lego.
Looks like a biscuit.
I never ate Lego. Are you kidding me? Build it and rebuild it and build it and build it, and then make the Millennium Falcon. Oh, I'd love to do that. Oh, come on! You wouldn't love to have like the 3,000 piece Millennium Falcon?
I'd love to have 20-piece Lego sets at the moment. I'm poor.
Oh yeah. That truly was a fantastic trip.
Yeah.
In terms of the amount of things that we can still talk about, even just to people that don't like whiskey, even in a non-whiskey podcast kind of thing, the amount of things that we can talk about with that we did that trip.
Oh.
Like you giving me wrong directions to the restaurant twice. Oh, never go driving with this guy. He's a terrible navigator. He tells
I'm a
you
very good driver. I'm like Colin McRae, me. But
he tells you the turn after you've passed it, but not like, oh no, like super casual where he would just go,
it was back there. Yeah. When in Rome.
Dick. When in Rome? When in Rome, you still don't get lost. You think you're not winning over on this one.
Leaning Tower, don't you?
Okay, I give in.
I'm aware that I've just said that and it's in Pisa.
Yeah, I
Italy.
I wasn't going to correct you on it. Okay, so go back to plastic might be a bit harsh, but definitely a high grain feel.
Yeah, I see. It's shiny.
Yeah, that's
what
probably a way better way of putting it than I did. Shiny.
Plastic.
It wasn't a negative. It wasn't a negative. There's a whiskey that I had that its primary grain that they used was oat. And I shit you not, this thing smelled like oat cookies. But even in the plastic container when you pull it out, it had that shininess of the plastic when you pull it out the plastic container and oat cookies. It was amazing. But that was an oat whiskey.
Porridgey, was it?
No, it was literally oat cookies. It was really good.
It's just so good.
This is amazing. This really is amazing.
You need to start doing a podcast when there's smell-o-vision.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Actually, no, you fucking stink. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh. Dick.
But also...
I'm putting that cut sarcastic sign back up again. Okay, so if we're going to... Because we're just going to sit and keep saying this is amazing. Right, so notes. Let's do proper notes.
So this is what I was going to say.
What are you getting?
So I get almost like a sweetness that you get from icing.
Yep.
I like icing sugar.
And that might be part of the shininess as well.
Yeah. But then I get the deep, rich... There's definitely the caramels in there, the sugars,
yeah,
the
100%.
caramels. But you've also got things like I get almost like a roasted apple, not necessarily a fresh apple. I get like toffee apple is probably an easy way of saying it. But
to me, it's toffee apple. To me, it's toffee apple on the smell. But now you've said like a roasted or cooked apple. On the taste, it's definitely that.
Yeah, it's that richer rather than that. It's definitely got a little bit more down low sweet, I'd say, rather than up high sweet.
Yeah. I'm getting a little bit of pear actually.
A
little bit. It's nowhere near the up as high as them, but it's quite subtly in the background.
Yeah. Aftertaste wise,
Basic, we like it.
Aftertaste wise, it finishes quite sprightly. Like it goes up at the end, I would say, rather than coming down.
I get a bit of an ethanol punch at the end.
Yes. Yeah, which then evaporates very quickly because of the ethanol punch.
And I get that as a punch at the end. Still very nice.
Oh,
very nice.
To me, it leaves me feeling refreshed rather than feeling like if you have a Lefroy that's so briny that afterwards you sit there going, I can still taste that for the next 6 hours.
I've licked a stone that was on the beach.
Yeah. A crab.
Don't do that.
You've licked a crab is what's happened.
Good luck catching it. You're just going to see him on the beach like scrambling.
As long as you run sideways, you're all right.
Well, if they're drunk, they walk forward.
Yeah. You made yourself tickle with that, didn't you?
I did actually. Sorry. Sorry, everyone. But basically, this... Okay, so we might have got off a little bit of a tangent. Basically, we really like this one because we have that story with it as well.
Yeah. I mean, there may be better whiskies out there, but this one, for me, has just got such a good story.
I agree.
So it's for you, the Longmorn 16. Because you've got such a story you've got such a relationship and
in terms of finding it, thinking it was good,
and then being validated,
and then not
vindication.
But they're not even thinking about it for years. Like, oh, I'll keep an eye out for it, not realizing actually how much of a gem it was when I had it.
So for me, I've got a story. I've got a relationship with the Nadura because it was my entry into whiskey.
And who was responsible for that? So sorry.
Can you edit and put?
No, I'm not putting anything.
Tumbleweeds.
No. No.
Or a big sign. Ding, ding, ding.
Me.
Our survey says.
Okay, so you know how I said when I said I ruined it? That's the reason why I ruined it. Because he would only ever really have Jack and Coke before, and then I introduced
I wouldn't even have Jack because I didn't like Jack. It was I'd have Woodford and Coke.
You did? Oh yeah, Woodford and Coke, yeah.
Makers and Coke I'd have had.
Yeah,
Jim Beam I'd have as well.
Yeah, so your whiskey knowledge was a bourbon and Coke.
Mixed, I would always mix it.
I
started off as mixed.
At that time. And then I introduced him to the Glenlivet Nadura, which I may point out is 60%. So it's a really high proof. And he's not even used to high proof
But that's why I think I liked it.
And that's what, and I think,
it kicked my ass. And I was like, well, if I'm going to drink something, I might as well feel like I'm drinking it.
You had that when we went to Florida.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That was my entry into it.
That was the airport.
No, that was what you bought, wasn't it?
Yes, but did you not try it at the airport as well with me?
Yeah.
Which was the reason why I bought it.
Yeah.
Because we took it with us.
Yeah.
To finish out there.
We didn't. Did we finish it out there?
Yes, we did.
2 weeks. Finished bottle.
Yeah, 60% bottle as well. Not just...
Yeah, and it was that. And
it wasn't like that was all we were drinking.
What was the other one you bought over there? You took over?
Longmorn Stiller's Choice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Longmorn Stiller's is the one I got when I was out there.
And then obviously, then we've got the story of the your dad's knob. Just leave that cut to the end of it there.
Okay,
just literally end. Your dad's knob. Just ding, ding, ding.
I'll see you next time. Say the story. Sorry, I'm sorry. I have to say the story now. So my dad would do a joke where, years ago, when we were late teens, early 20s, and we were all still living close to one another, I would have something called the Gents Evening. It was overly pretentious. All it was a group of us would sit around, we'd drink for the evening, and it always used to be Tuesday.
And you'd end up with a pipe.
And that was the pretentious. Or a cigar.
Pipe.
No.
9 times out of 10 it was a pipe.
No, it was mostly cigars at that point. Then I moved on to the pipe.
And then that's...
Anyway, not a crack pipe. It was an actual old man wizard pipe. Yes, I'm that sad. Thanks for bringing that up.
It was a crack pipe with a pipe.
Screw. You're never coming back. So, what you would do... Sorry. What you would do...
Thinking about how time flies.
Oh, were you?
Were you? That's staying in. So what you would do is he would walk into the room with his hand behind his back, and a few of us very quickly cottoned on that the answer would be yes. But the people that didn't know the joke would always be incredibly shocked. So he would walk into the room and say, right, who wants to try my knob? Now the people that knew the joke would all sit there and go, yep, me. Because it was a bottle of Knob Creek. But the people that weren't used to this joke would all sit there and be like, did he just... And then everybody who's in on the joke's going, yep, go on, bring it in. Bring it in, I'll have some.
Yeah, so obviously we then...
So Knob Creek is Dad's knob.
Yeah. But we would...
Can't believe I just had to explain that.
I just wanted to embarrass you a wee bit.
My dad's probably going to watch this, you do realise.
Yep.
Okay.
Love you, Norman.
Fair enough. Carry on. Yeah. Okay.
But we found the Knob Creek Maple. Now, obviously, we don't tend to go for flavoured whiskies.
No.
We don't tend to like
overly.
artificially flavoured whiskies.
And that's not us being snobby.
No,
we
it's
just
we
don't
tend
to like it.
We don't tend to.
Like, I'm not a massive fan of the JD Honey. Anything cinnamon flavoured, I can't stand.
I just can't stand cinnamon.
And that's what I mean. Anything cinnamon flavoured, I can't stand. Yeah.
And then obviously I don't. Fireball, don't like that. Don't like the. Is it Jack Daniels, the red one?
That's another cinnamon.
That's another cinnamon one, right?
Yeah.
But we tend to like those. But we both really liked the Knob Creek maple.
Yeah.
Mainly, we mixed it. We mixed it as an old-fashioned sort of thing to make a maple.
Oh my god, we did, didn't we?
That which actually was really nice. It was actually really nice. It wasn't. That's. The story is that we're not really pretentious about not. We still think that that's still classed as a whiskey because some people assume that because it's now flavoured, is it a whiskey next still? And I'm like,
I'd still call it a whiskey. Its base is whiskey.
Yeah, going back to it now though, I don't like it. I
still really like it.
I know, but I don't like it as much as I did when I first started. Now I don't know if that's because
I still do though.
But I don't know if that's because when I first started, I almost wanted to try and drown out the taste of the whiskey.
Potentially.
And now that's the bit I like about it.
Potentially, yeah. Potentially. I still really like it.
Oh,
I think it's fantastic. Again, not being snobby, for a flavoured whiskey, I really like it.
Well, it doesn't hold anything back. It's like I am a flavoured whiskey, I'm coming at you.
It's a maple syrup donut, but Knob Creek.
Yeah.
It's like you've taken a sip of Knob Creek and then a bite of maple syrup donut. It's fantastic.
So the difference is,
I really like it.
I think the major difference is when we drink something like this, we turn around and say, I'm getting notes of this.
Oh yeah, for that it's all maple syrup.
Yeah, but
100%.
If they're coming around going, if someone's really just starting into it and they want to try and get a taste, right? It says it's a maple flavoured whiskey. It is very clearly maple flavoured whiskey. It's not like this where we go, 100%. I get notes of this, and if someone doesn't actually know what you mean, they can't taste it. They go, well, it just tastes like alcohol.
Do you know what I think can be a good way to introduce someone into whiskey without giving them straight whiskey? And not even a whiskey and coke, even though that could be probably one of the better ways of doing it. But it's to do a whiskey infusion.
That's what I mean.
But in a cocktail.
Yes. Something like...
Getting them in that way.
A chocolate orange old fashioned we've had, and
they are beautiful,
and we think they're amazing because you still get the chocolate orange, but you still get that nice hit.
Yeah, there's the dominant. So if you and I were to make a regular old fashioned from one another, we tend to go. I actually like mine with a little bit more bitters. I quite like a little bit more of a bitter note in mine.
Okay, so I'm the opposite. I quite like a little bit more of the sugar.
Yes. Yeah. When we're muddling, you and I would go 3 to 4 dashes. Bitters, and you're maybe 3.
2 to 3, I'd say.
2 to 3, yeah. Yeah, so I like it a little bit more bitter.
And I try and put a little bit more orange in it as well. Try and get that almost candied orange sided taste.
Yes. Oh, here's one. If you have an old fashioned, do you prefer regular bitters or a flavoured bitters?
I think I've got the blood orange ones at the moment.
Have you?
I think I've got the Angostura blood orange one.
You're not going to see this on camera. He's making me one of these. I want one of them.
So I think that's the one I've got.
Blood orange one. I've not had the blood orange one.
I think that's the one I've got at the moment.
We're having one of them afterwards.
I think.
Oh, that's an idea for one. Maybe in the comments, let me know if you want to see it as a podcast, as a podcast episode. Not even just an episode, as a podcast episode. In the episode, we've just lost the camera. Apologies. But we'll roll with this one. It's fine. So we could do that as an episode of, do we do an old-fashioned episode?
What, of doing different old fashions?
Of different old fashions with different bitters, different bourbons and whatever, just to see what we like the most.
Yeah.
Could do it. And let us know what you think in the comments and stuff, if you think that's going to work.
So do you use white sugar or Demerara sugar?
Both. That's what I mean, experiment with it. Go, what sugar do we prefer with it? What bitters do we prefer with it? And then what bourbon do we prefer? Personally, I'm leaning towards Woodford as my bourbon for it.
I like a good Woodford.
Woodford's what I lean towards. I prefer a Woodford old fashioned. But for me.
Anyway. I think. So I've got the Jim Beam 12. Their signature's 12, and I think that's actually really good in a bourbon, in an old fashioned.
Oh, we need to try that.
So's Eleanor. We've had Eleanor in an old fashioned in the.
I'm not making them here.
No, but we've had them in the
and they
in the
make
bar,
them
and they're
very
really work.
But they do cherry with theirs.
Oh, Mascherino cherries.
They do Mascherino cherries, and I think that works really well with the Alma.
Yeah.
And that's another one when it comes down to it. Do you do an orange swell? Do you do a lemon swell even? Do you do a cherry?
I'd go orange, personally.
For me personally, I would do orange as well.
I think it suits whiskey quite well, orange.
It works quite nice. For me as well, I agree. I think it works quite nicely. I think the Mascherino cherry works really well with Eleanor. But yeah, I think the same.
Yeah.
I like this. Let us know what you think. If you think that would be something you want to do and want to see, we can give it a go. We can give it a shot.
Definitely. Just get pissed. What's not to like about that? Well, I've never finished mine.
Well, no. Before you do, in that case, if you need to finish yours, I would say if your game as well, that's maybe a good point to wrap up.
Yeah.
Also, we've lost the camera, so maybe it's definitely a good point.
It's like that character.
Sorry for that, everyone.
It's like that character out of Saving Private Ryan. If you watch really closely on the beach scene right at the beginning, you watch a guy get his arm blown off.
Comes
back in set, picks it up, and walks back off again.
Oh, do you mean that wasn't even meant to be done?
No, he's a blooper. He literally just walks up, picks his arm up, and then walks back off camera.
I thought that was meant to be done, and they just shot that deliberately.
No, why would they shoot someone going in and picking up their own arm? Who in the war goes, you know what?
Because it's the horror of war.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want to run away? Because you'd rather lose an arm than lose your life. But the fact that he walks in, picks an arm up, and walks back
off. It's got really dark. Really dark. Right, in that case... Hang on, let me take a... No, not yet. Now we'll finish it.
Looks like...
No, I'm fine. Because we need to finish it on the toast.
Okay.
So, do you want to do the toast or shall I?
You should do the toast.
Okay, I'll do the toast. So here's to fighting, stealing and drinking. If you fight, may you fight for a friend. If you drink...
No, you missed...
Well, I did.
See, I told you it was too much for you.
I'm sorry.
Fighting, stealing, and drinking.
I know, I'm cut that.
Those are the orders. There you go.
Here's to okay.
Fighting.
Here's to fighting, stealing and drinking. If you fight, may you fight for a friend. If you steal, may you steal love's heart. And if you drink, may you drink with me.